numbers for the new moon. And it's like, it's so crazy because it's the 6th card of the major arcana, which is like double 3, right? But we also are we're getting themes of 3, the transformational or transmutational triangle. Because in alchemy, that triangle represents like, the coming together of 2 sides and aiming at the higher principle. And this is what instigates transformation. Okay. So with this new moon, we are, it's basically that closing up of eclipse season. We've gotten the downloads and now it's time to turn the new leaf over. And this is a time for us to spend, I think, some alone time, obviously new moons are very much about being internal and introspective and evaluating what's going on within me. But this is a way to understand the world. This is a way to understand others. This is a way to understand the collective. And that's absolutely evident by the fact that we pulled a major arcana card here. This is actually the only one in the spread this season, which is super interesting to me. The Lovers to me is about seriously focusing in on the highest potential, the highest self, a transcendent good that we can perceive in our lives, right? And this new moon energy is very much about like re-embracing, I think, the fullness of our process. Okay, because this is something that is absolutely necessary if we are going to claim, the kind of confidence that high vibrational Leo energy is basically giving us the full ass check, sign off, co-sign to claim for ourselves. It's about confidently roaring your value, your worth, what you're here to do, what you're aimed at, what you are here to express, what your soul's urging you towards, what your curiosity is. It's understanding that all of these functions are the intricacies that the universe has placed here for us to evolve through. And they are the processes that push us forward and that encourage us towards individuation. If only we would heed the call, heed the understanding, and recognize that the totality of our experience is worthy, And it's so interesting again to me that, Leo is very much connected to children and childhood. And how we see, an adult male and an adult woman here. And they very much kind of represent Adam and Eve, right? Like it's very Garden of Eden vibes. Nobody could deny that. We've got a snake and a tree and fucking, a godhead kind of figure. So the interesting thing here to understand is that this whole process is what creates the Christ child. It's the marriage of the masculine energy, the I'm willing to advocate for myself, I'm willing to pursue. It's that fire. It's I'm going out, I'm exploring, I'm adventuring, I'm moving, right? It's that mixed with our receptive, open, feminine nature where it's I am learning, I'm receiving, I'm absorbing, I'm taking it in, I'm, carrying it. Something feminine energy has to learn to do with a little bit more, self-care involved, because when we have the capacity to carry so much negativity because we are just this open, receptive force in the universe. And if we're not aware of that and we're not mindful of that, we can take on way too much in either area. And this is really important to understand. So it's the 6th card, and 6s are about healing in tarot numerology. I think right now the 6 of Cups. Okay. And to me, it's a kind of representation in the life of the inner child that this process truly requires. Okay. What we see in the 6 of Cups are these 2 little children, a boy and a girl, and they're interacting in a playful and fun way. And then you see 6 cups and they're in this safe village. And then you see the 6 cups and they all have white flowers growing out of them. And what that illustrates is the fact that when we go inward, internally, inside of ourselves and discover the inner wounded masculine child, the inner wounded feminine child, and do the necessary work to reparent ourselves and to recognize that we have adult versions of ourselves too that can get married and get on the same page and recognize it isn't about finding validation. It isn't about being right. It isn't about being the one who's, the most oppressed or the most taken advantage of in this situation. It's not about rights versus wrongs. It's not about who's more acceptable or who's not. It's about let's get on the same page for the children, for what we're trying to create here. Leo season is, again, it's all this, it's fifth house shit. And that's the fifth sign. There's a lot of challenges there. And I would honestly say, 5, that's a number that represents humankind. This is the first kind of, all of 5 senses are here. We may not be fully developed yet, but we're all here. And I also think of, a hand. And manos, the word manos, which is the root of manifesting, is hand. And it's what our hand does. And it's what, we set our senses to do. And it's what we choose to focus on that creates our experience in life. And I think the Lovers showing up for us is that with this new moon, we have to be very, very aware of all the dimensionality that makes us up and how valuable every step of the process is. So we have to be able to accept ourselves in adolescence form. We have to understand that there is a wounded, masculine child within. There's a wounded feminine child within. There's a wounded masculine, adult within. And there's a wounded feminine adult within. All of these things have to be reconciled. All of these things have to be acknowledged, faced, understood, so that we can get a clear vision of where we're headed. If we are truly to serve consciousness, we have to come naked, arms wide open to the truth of who we are. So we have to be confident about expressing all the stages of our experience. There should not be a part of our past that we have not interfaced with and alchemized enough so that we can express that when it is necessary. Now, does everybody deserve your story? Absolutely not. But part of the way we are going to heal the collective is by healing out loud in our own lives. Again, 6s are all about healing for us. So, to find a healthier way for us to come into alignment with the masculine and feminine principles, with, the relationship between adult and child, we have to recognize that even though we have that physical differentiation there, we are still, as a human species, in the adolescent stage. So that understanding gives ourselves grace as we are as humans, because we know bigger concepts like we are responsible for the life that we have. What we have decided to heal and or integrate is, how well things are really going for us or not, or how much we're going to struggle against things or not. We understand that. But on a deeper level, we need to simply radically accept ourselves fully. Because if we accept ourselves fully, we see the other as a reflection of us. We see society as a reflection of us. And we know if we have compassion for self, that is compassion for the other. That is compassion for society. If we want society to change, if we want the others to change, we must change ourselves. We must do the healing in an internal level. And this, I think, is the process that starts building up energy in the earth as a collective. I don't think it's safe to say that we can really separate ourselves from what happens on the outside in any capacity. So even though a single individual human is a microcosm, you're still a fucking universe, and you're still a part of this universe. And if you change your DNA, if you change your genetic makeup, if you change your code, and guess what? We do all of that through new experiences. And the more we're confident in ourselves, the more we're free to express what we're going through. And the fact that we're all like children here, and that, I'm here to play and I'm here to find joy, all these big sun kind of concepts, and I'm here to be myself. The sun sign is the sign of identity for us, our conscious identity. I think first house rising shit kind of rules the projected identity. But the sun is very much asking us to play here, to get into the imagination where all things start, where all things like take form. And we can recognize that through seeing that in ourselves, seeing the ability to project things forward and bring things into reality slowly over time, that we can then start trusting that is happening on the macro scale too. Because as above, so below, so below as above, as within, so without, and so without, so as within. So what we're doing internally, we are seeding externally. What we're doing in the individual, we're seeding into the collective unconscious. By you choosing to heal consciously, by being intentional about your healing work, we are instigating this kind of coming together of the lovers where we can start seeing ourselves in the other and loving them fully because we've actually started to interface with how to love ourselves. And I believe it really stems from a place of self-acceptance and self-worth and being able to express yourself. That is an action we can all take to claim, to prove that we care about being confident in our experience, in our journey, in our growth. And when we really act this out, even though it can feel really vulnerable, it can feel, really difficult to speak about or express the truth of who we are. But we tell the world that this is acceptable by saying it's acceptable enough for me to do it. And no, you can't be sure that folks around you won't, no longer vibe because integration looks different from before. When we go through things and we start actually, we stop demonizing the other side externally and internally. When we stop that, when we stop the war and we start focusing on that fresh blank slate that we want to have, where it's like, I'm free from the conditioning, I'm choosing how I want to show up. I'm choosing how I want to alchemize my life. That's only available to us, if we choose to accept the full picture. And that is very much, again, about embracing our childlike nature. And that it requires us to embrace the childlike nature of every other human on this planet. And if you can look at the world and be like, yeah, we are a fucking planet of adolescents at best. We a bunch of children. That, to me, really makes a lot more sense in the development of humankind, where we're at and why we make all these terrible choices as a collective is because we have kind of technologically advanced beyond our maturity level. And so we're in a pickle here. And it doesn't make it any less scary. But again, like Carl Jung said, the more we can understand what's going on internally and externally, the more we can endure. And here's where I'm at. If the mindset, here's Mercury retrograde shit, and with it going direct on this new moon, I think this is a huge fucking mood. If how we're thinking does not build this, if how we're believing does not serve this integration, aiming at the highest, not being wrapped up in the pettiness of one side or another, finding middle ground, finding bridges, finding connection, finding the ability to share and play and have fun and enjoy and embody the best parts about being children here. Recognizing that our imagination can shape this motherfucking world. If the beliefs, the thoughts, the ideas aren't supporting that, if the communication, if the words that I'm speaking out loud aren't supporting this, then we're not aiming where we need to be aiming. So that's a huge thing to intend here, that your thoughts, your words, your actions be in service of finding true integration within the self and finding that thing that you want to aim towards. Because again, that's the three that we need to get into alignment here. And this is about working to discover it, but also working to actually get started in that direction. So we've got to truly intend our full integration. And this is going to require you to merge with the other. The lovers is about where we recognize that it ain't just me out here in the world. We've got other people to contend with. And if I recognize that like other people are on their own path of individuation and they might be, you know, at war with themselves. They might be saying one thing and sabotaging, you know, with their actions. This is, again, we're children. I get it. I understand. Me too, bud. I have also gone through these things. I'm also still learning about this behavior in myself and learning how to reframe it and choosing to redirect it. I have compassion for you because I have to merge with you to fully actualize and birth a new realm of being into this world where we all can be ourselves in a way that builds our society positively. That's the whole Aquarius